Hey everybody, this is the Keeper of the Gains podcast. I'm your host, John Gallup, and today's guest is Alan Wasinger from CrossFit Compelled. What's up, Alan?
Hey, good afternoon, John. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So we've kind of seen each other here and there over the years in the Wichita area, whether it was at competitions or on Facebook, and we never really got a chance to sit down and talk to each other and kind of feel like we're like-minded individuals, both CrossFit coaches, both level 2 CrossFit coages.
Correct.
Congratulations on that, man.
You as well.
Thank you. And so you're the head coach of CrossFit Compelled, and we're just going to talk today and ask some questions about, how you got into CrossFit, your background in athletics, and what the future is looking like for you.
Sounds good. Excited to be here. Let's do this.
Yeah. So where are you from, man?
Where I'm from. So I'm from a small town called Victoria, Kansas. To be familiar with that, it's about 10 miles east of Hays, Kansas. So I grew up there, went to high school there, and then went to college at Fort Hays and did that for a little over 4 years. Got my degree in criminal justice. After that, it took me to Larned, Kansas, where I then worked at a prison there. And then eventually I got moved to Wichita, obviously where I'm at now, and I worked for juvenile probation for several years, and then kind of went into this gym thing. I went in CrossFit Compelled, so yeah.
That's pretty cool, dude. So you said you got your degree in criminal justice.
Criminal
we were
justice.
Talking. And what led you to get your degree in criminal justice? What was the idea there?
I'm not sure. I think after high school, it was just kind of expected to go to college. And so I went in not really having an idea. I've always kind of liked the law enforcement background. People always ask me why I didn't become a cop. It just never really fell through.
Yeah.
Got my start in a prison, and even though that sounds weird, I kind of enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And then when I was married at the time, moved to Wichita and wound up at Juvenile Field Services, where I worked with juveniles for Sedgwick County.
Yeah.
Enjoyed that too. So did that for a few years. And then when I first moved here, I met my partner at the time through the job, and then met her husband at the time. And we just talked about this CrossFit thing and went from there.
So was that like your first exposure to CrossFit, talking to them, or what was your first exposure?
Yeah, the
to
first
CrossFit?
exposure. So I've always been into fitness. I mean, this is probably since a kid. Played sports, football, basketball, track, baseball. I mean, I love playing sports. My family was kind of come from an athletic background, so it's something I've always enjoyed. Going into this CrossFit thing, friend at the time, or not at the time, still is my friend, Ryan, he came in one day and said, "Hey, have you heard of this CrossFit thing?" This was probably about 6 years ago. I said, "No, I think I've tried just about everything." He's like, "Let's give it a shot." Went to CrossFit.com, looked at their workouts. We had a little bit of equipment. We tried it out, and I think we had the same experience that most people do when they try CrossFit for the first time, kind of laying on your back, like, what just happened? It was a matter of 30 minutes, and you're like, I thought I was fit.
Yeah.
And so we just kept, following CrossFit.com, trying to do some of the workouts, bought some equipment. And then, maybe about a year of doing that by ourselves, we had a little bit of a following. Our friends would come up in the evening times and be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Hey, it's this CrossFit thing. We don't know a lot about it. You're more than welcome to jump in with us." We did that, like I said, for about a year. And then some people kept poking us and said, "You should turn this into a business." Well, I know for me, no business experience at all. And we were all like, no, that's not why we're doing it. We're just working out. And then the more we kept doing it, we decided, hey, maybe there's something here.
Yeah.
We knew there were some gyms in Wichita already that had been doing it. So we thought, okay, they're still open. Let's see if maybe we can do it. Our location was a little bit different from everybody else's. So when we did it, I think we had like 40 people. We said, if we're going to do this, you guys need to follow us, to help us out. We're not going to open this up and everybody's gone.
Yeah, don't leave me hanging out there.
Yeah, don't leave us hanging, because we're going to put some money into this. And we opened up our doors in December of 2013, and they all came with us. And we're still going. People ask how the business is going. My first response to that is the doors are open.
Yeah.
So that's it's kind of a wild story, because it wasn't anything we anticipated. It wasn't something that I ever planned on doing, having no background in that at all, running a business, coaching. But it's definitely been a blessing. I mean, each and every day I wake up and I'm excited to go in to work, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
When people say you never work a day in your life if you love your job, it's so true.
Yeah.
And it's tough to explain to somebody, John. I'm sure you kind of relate to that as well.
Yeah, I do.
Same thing. So
yeah,
it's just a blessing to work with different people. You know, especially in this business where it's something that I've been passionate about for a long time with myself, and now being able to share my experience with people to help them out. It's hard to explain sometimes. It kind of, you know, gives me goosebumps even sometimes just to think about it, how fortunate I am to be in this position.
Yeah.
So don't take it for granted.
Yeah, because you're in a position now to have a positive impact on people's lives, and in a position where people are seeking that, you know, as opposed to when you were working in the juvenile, correctional facility.
They didn't like
They
you.
didn't really, yeah.
No,
They weren't necessarily seeking you out.
No, they didn't like me in that field, you know, but that's what it was. And in this field, it is people are trusting you.
Yeah.
You know, they're putting their trust in you to say, hey, this is what I want to be. This is my goal. You know, this is where I've been. Can you help me out to be where I want to be, whether it be losing weight, you know, looking better, feeling better. So you take that all in, and it's huge. I mean, when you stop to think about it, people are putting a lot of their personal, you know, debt into you and saying, hey, can you help me out with this?
Yeah.
So it's challenging, but it's definitely rewarding.
Yeah.
Very rewarding.
Yeah, but it is one of those things where people are thankful, you know, and that's probably one of the biggest changes between what you used to do and what you do now is people are actually grateful for the help that you've given them. And that's what keeps me going. I'm sure that's kind of what keeps you going too, is that thanks that we get.
It is. I mean, thanks is still, you know, it gets thrown around a lot. I think sometimes people just throw it out to throw it out. But when you're in this field and people say thank you, it's very genuine.
Yeah.
You know, and so you take it to heart. It's a simple word, you know, thanks.
Yeah.
But it means a lot more when you've done the work with that person and they've done the work with you. So you know what that thank you actually means.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's kind of go back just a touch. So you get you moved to Wichita.
Correct.
And after you moved to Wichita, were you guys just working out in the garage then, I'm guessing? Okay.
Just working out on it. My friend Becky, her folks own the building that we're in, the Flying Moose Antique Mall. And they had a little area in back, and they said, we'll clean it out. You guys can go ahead and use it. We bought a little bit of equipment from Rogue, and like I said, we just started doing that. Very, very small area. We would get like 15 to 20 people in there, and it was just, you know, a bunch of friends just working out. And it was just really weird. It's like, hey, we're all working out together. We're not going elsewhere. And it just, like I said, it blossomed into what we've got now.
So wait. Let me get this straight. So Becky owns the Flying Moose?
Her parents own the Flying Moose. Yeah.
Okay.
So we looked out that way. You know, when you started a gym, stuff's expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And so you had to find an area. So they definitely continued to help us out, and they allowed us to use a space in there that they were using, but, you know, made it work for us. And so they put some trust into us to make it work, and we've been using that since. And, you know, hopefully we can pay them rent each month.
Yeah. So they're not doing this for free then?
No, not doing it for free. Nothing's for free.
Yeah. Because, you know, I've always wondered that every time I've pulled up when you guys have had a competition, I'm like, why is it in the back? On the back side, and then of this antique shop. So that makes sense. It
gets people every time. They call you up, and we're like, we're in the antique building. They're like, the antique building? Like, go to the side, and you'll have people walk in through the front, and they're like, I went in through the front and saw these antiques, so I don't know what's going on. Like, no. It is. It's kind of a unique location, definitely in Wichita. So
Yeah. Well, that explains it, though. I was always curious about that. So you guys move in there, and you guys make this commitment with the 40 members.
Yep.
Like, hey, we're doing this thing, but you guys better hang with us.
Yeah, we called them our founding members, and we told them, you know, if you sign up, you get a lifetime discount, and we bought some apparel for them that they got to keep. Mm. So we still have, you know, a few of those people still around. It's kind of cool to see, you know, some people that have been with us since day one.
Yeah.
You know, and
that is awesome.
Yeah,
that's
life
awesome.
happens.
Because that was 5 years ago, right?
5 years ago, December of 2013.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Going on 6 then, right?
Going on 6 years then, correct.
Yeah. So, well, that's really cool, man, that you still have members from that long ago. You know, getting a gym started can be really tough. It can be a very big kick in the gut too, because you're just not sure how it's going to go down, and you know, some gyms do really well, and some gyms kind of peter out. And I guess what was kind of going through your mind that made you make that final jump? Like, you know what, this is what we're going to do. You know, if it fails, it fails. If it's a success, it's a success. And what was kind of like the deciding factor for you and your two partners, right, to kind of go into it full swing?
Great question. I still feel like still working on that every day, as I should. Going into it, I feel like I had a lot of trust in Becky and Ryan.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like they really knew what was going on. I feel like they just had a better mindset. They can kind of see in the future, whereas I'm kind of just in the present. And so I just kind of took my trust with them and said, hey, if they think it can happen, I trust them enough to ride with them.
Right.
And so when we first opened up our doors, I was still working for Sedgwick County. And then it was about 6 months in, Ryan and Becky said, hey, if you want to quit your job and do this full time, let's do it. And so I thought to myself, I was young, I'm still in my 30s. I thought, if this doesn't happen, I can still do something else. I still got my degree. I can still find a job. And then, just kind of, thinking about other people in life as they get older, they say, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
So I had that thought too. I said, you know what, let's do this. Believe it or not, I'm not a risk taker. Never really have been because I like to just be in the now. But like I said, I put some trust in them. I said, let's do this.
Yeah.
I said, let's go. And, whatever happens, I'm going to do this with no regret.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have an attitude of, what if? I just said, let's do it.
Yeah.
So
I think that's kind of how I came to my decisions too is, actually even in high school, I was not a risk taker by any means. And, I remember when I was in my senior year, I was like 10% chance I joined the Marines, 90% chance I'll go be an accountant or something. And somehow, I got in that recruiter's office and signed the paper and entered the Marines. And then after that, I think my mindset kind of changed where I realized, like, man, life is really short. And I want to do what I want to work in an area that I want to be in. I don't want to just work to make an income because there's so much you can do in this world. Why limit yourself on just a couple extra dollars here and there?
Very good point.
So I think that's kind of for me too, like, hey, let's ride it out. Let's have fun while we're doing it. So, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool then how you got from that job into coaching.
Yeah,
and
still paying off those student loans. It's helping out a lot.
Yeah. Well, the military helped me out on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So as far as coaching goes, then I think we'll talk about coaching first, and we'll kind of move into you being an athlete. Coaching, you come in early mornings, I'm assuming.
Early
for
mornings,
you.
our first class is at 4:30 a.m.
4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
Man, I thought I had it bad. Mine's at 5 a.m., dude.
Yeah, well, we switched that a few months ago because our members there's something.
Oh my goodness, 4:30 a.m. Who in the world? Where do they work at? That's what I want to know.
They
Where do
still
they
got
got
their
to be?
full-time jobs. Apparently,
Yeah.
they like it enough to come in and get it done and get their day started. So
Wow, 4:30.
Yeah.
And then when's your last class?
our last class is at 5:30 p.m.
Okay, that's not as bad in the evening.
Not
then.
too bad, no.
Yeah. So long days, and I'm assuming you're there probably off and on most of the day.
I take care of the morning
Yeah.
classes, have a little free time in the afternoon, and then go back in the evenings and round out the day.
Yeah. You kind of like, and probably for the coaches listening too, we're probably a lot of you guys are familiar with that split, working around people's schedules. But do you kind of like having that schedule split from the morning to the evening, or would you kind of rather just knock it all out if it was up to you?
You know what? It was a little bit different at first, and now I love it.
Yeah.
I've always been a morning person. At nighttime, I don't do so well.
Yeah.
So the earlier the better. I like waking up. You know what I tell people, when you wake up that early, life hasn't got chaotic yet.
Yeah.
So there's just something about, everything's nice and quiet. And then, I do the mornings, and the afternoon is fantastic because, most people are at work, and so it's not too busy really anywhere.
Yeah.
So if I need to take care of things, I can do that. And then the evening times are there for a few hours, and you call it good. It works out really well.
Yeah. Yeah. It is kind of nice. And, get a nap in there every once in a while.
Yeah, there's sometimes,
Yeah.
growing up, naps, who does that? My grandpa does naps. But, yeah, they are needed sometimes.
Yeah. And, coaching's definitely got its challenges. And one of the things, I think a lot of coaches face is coach burnout. And I think there's a lot of factors that go into it from, I know at some gyms, coaches don't even get paid. They just get traded membership
Correct.
for coaching. Other coaches get paid okay, barely enough to make ends meet. And other coaches get paid really well. And, I think there's factors in the pay side of things. But I think there's also factors as far as just the workload. I mean, I think it's important that coaches recognize that we need breaks. You know
Sure.
what I mean? So I just kind of want to ask you, because you've been doing this 5 years now. That's a hefty amount of time.
Yeah, 5 years, pretty well. I mean, full time.
Right, exactly. That's a lot of hours. And I think from the outside in, it's sometimes hard to appreciate how exhausting emotionally that can be, bringing your best effort to class. If you just come in and you just do the 3, 2, 1, go, coach, it's not really that tiring. But if you're really giving 100%, which I know you're doing,
Sure.
it takes a toll. So how do you deal with trying to prevent burnout? Have you gotten burnout before? And if you were, how did you overcome that? How did you get back into it?
I think it has a lot to do with, when you get into working with people, it's something that I think deep down you can do.